It was Saturday 21st of March.
I got up late because I was tired from Friday.
I remember the day exactly because it's just a month after my birthday.
Saturdays, Mum lets me have breakfast in bed.
I was watching the Disney Channel. I just wanted to go too.
It was a really nice day.
So I phoned round my mates and said, want to go in town?
Yeah, sure. I need to get some makeup, but I mustn't spend much because I'm saving for some boots.
Oh, I can't. I've got to work.
I thought you worked Sundays.
A swap, just for the afternoon. We're taking Mum for lunch tomorrow.
Oh shit, I forgot. I need to get a card and all.
Are you coming, Safa?
I don't feel like it. Me and Shai had a row last night.
What about?
Same as usual. He's just being really weird at the moment.
I think you should dump him.
I can't.
Why not?
Because I love him.
Right.
I'm going to call him in a bit. Maybe we'll talk up later.
Yeah, I'll give you all a text when I'm done.
Actually, what time do you want to meet?
In a couple of hours, I need to get changed. Usual place?
Yeah, so I'll see you all in a bit then.
See ya.
We usually go into town on Saturday, just me and him. Sometimes my friends as well. But the night before, he said we weren't to go into town today. He doesn't normally tell me what to do like that. I called his phone, but it was off, so I left a message and went back to bed and watched TV.
I've been told earlier that morning I'd be making my first team debut, not just in the squad, the gaffer had said.
You'll be in the starting lineup because of injuries and that.
Yeah, I was nervous, but dead excited. The stakes couldn't have been any higher.
We need to keep the pressure up for the title.
I had to make a good impression.
A local derby is no excuse to lose points.
I could already see the headlines now. The new Rooney, United 5, City 0. We're going to stuff them.
Mum does a big shop every Saturday. There's a lot of us, and that's when she buys our food and that for the week. I'm the oldest, so I'm always expected to help. Sometimes I think of an excuse not to go, but with the baby coming, it's only fair to help her. And I need to get a present from all of us. 364 days, she does everything for the family, and we've got that one special day to give us something back. So I went along with her.
I'd had a late lunch break, and when I got back, the bosses said I was greeting people, which is all right. It's dead easy. You just sort of say hello to people when they come into the shop, ask them if there's anything you can help them with, that sort of thing. And if one of your mates comes in, you can have a bit of a chat.
You can't do that if you're on checkouts. If you're dealing with a customer, all your attention's supposed to be on that customer.
All the Mother's Day stuff was on the stand at the front of the store.
Cards, flowers, toiletries, it was all there.
I wanted to get some I could have in my coat pocket, so she wouldn't know I'd bought it.
When Shayi came into the shop, he was carrying this big sports hold-all thing with Man United on it. It didn't seem odd at the time because he was really into his football when we were at school. We were in the same year and had a few classes together, but we'd not kept in touch since.
I chose a card and a little bottle of lavender bubble bath, which is my mum's favourite.
I couldn't decide what to get her.
I think you were a bit surprised to see me at first, it like being out of context. But then he basically told me to come meet him because he had something to tell me.
I waited till we got to the middle of the store where all the household stuff is, and then I told her I need to go to the toilet. She said she waited for me in the aisle, and then I went off to get a present.
Now it's all right to leave the door for a few minutes if a customer asks. Usually they just want you to show them where something is or something like that.
Kirsty was faffing about, so I just said, wait for me here, I need to get some makeup. Alright.
Went over to an aisle in the middle of the store where all the bleachers and lighting fluids and stuff like that are kept. And that's when he told me he had a bomb.
I was stacking shelves in that aisle when it all kicked off.
I just froze for a second. I thought, oh my God, you just panic, you just start panicking and you don't know what to do. It didn't feel real. Why here? Why me?
But I had training to do with that sort of stuff.
Makeup and that's right at the end of the store. I was on my way there when I heard a bit of a disturbance.
I could see from Matilda there was something going on.
He said some words I didn't understand.
I tend to ignore that sort of situation. It sounded like there was some Arabic, which might have been from the Quran, but I don't really know.
But what's he saying? What's he going on about?
I know it's cliche, but he said something about Iraq and his jihad against the West. I mean, what do you say to that?
I just find it really embarrassing when you hear people going on with all that extreme stuff in public.
On the checkouts, basically every desk where there's a till, there's also a panic button underneath.
I mean, no normal Muslim would say things like that.
I pressed the button.
Some people came running over and tried to talk to him.
All you told disasters, bomb floods or anything like that. It's called disaster outline number on the back of your badge. The only thing is, mine's a new badge and it's not on it yet.
My supervisor came over and saw what was happening.
I looked at the guy and realised it was Shahid.
He was getting really angry.
I was just so shocked because I didn't think he was like that.
Thought I'd best get some help.
I thought, what do I do?
I don't know. I was just so frightened. My head was all over the place.
You were supposed to reassure people that everything was all right, even though it was blatantly obvious that it wasn't. It was right in front of me, so I couldn't get out of it.
I thought, I know him, maybe I can help.
I know some cashiers lied and said it must be a false alarm or some sort of training exercise.
My supervisor said we were going to sweep the shop floor except for that area and basically get everyone out as quick as you can without causing disturbance.
I just had to say to people, stay calm, everything will be all right. We've got security here. I was really worried though.
I just stood there. I didn't know what to do.
Because I knew I had to get people out by the entrance. Most of the others started from the back of the store.
There was already some people trying to calm him down. One of the shop assistants, an Asian lady who was quite heavily pregnant, and a couple of others.
I remember saying, there's women and children here, can I get some of them out? You do feel that. I don't know where it stems from, really.
I was waiting for Aisha when this guy comes over and was like,
Sorry, I'm going to have to ask you to leave.
"Well, I haven't done anything. I'm only waiting for my friend."
What's going on?
Look, don't cause a fuss. We just need to get everyone out as quick as you can. You can wait for your friends outside.
He was polite to us, although at the time, I did think he looked a bit scared.
I said, no, I need to get back to my mum. She's waiting for me in there.
I felt bad. I just let him go. I just wanted to get out of there.
I suddenly realised that this was it. There was no going back, he was definitely going to do it.
I shouted over, "Shahid, what's going on?"
I'm not proud of this, but I turned and ran and shouted to everyone that got in my way, just get out as quick as you can.
And it was clear something had happened. People started to panic and there was some screaming.
I was acting under pressure because obviously it just takes the flick of a button, doesn't it? And then you're gone straight away.
And then he did it.
There was a really loud bang.
The blast was huge.
And suddenly it was like he was in a different place.
People were flying around, arms and legs.
Everything was off the shelves.
Body parts. Bits of body parts.
There was glass everywhere.
And lots of blood.
And there was huge amounts of screaming.
You might think you've heard screaming. You've not heard this type of screaming.
It was unnatural.
It was unreal.
These were the screams of seriously injured, dying people.
Frantic screams.
Desperate screams.
And then you're left with just a few people screaming.
Some people crying out quietly.
A mobile phone which no one answered.
And then silence.
And then it started to rain.
I think those sprinkler things had come on.
It's weird, but the water was actually quite calming.
There was no panic because you were still alive, even though you knew other people probably weren't.
But all around, it was horrible.
It was like a scene from hell.
There was carnage everywhere.
There was an elderly man who had really bad head and chest injuries, and a child with a nail sticking out of his cheek.
Think, is there anyone I can save here or take out with me?
The child looked about 6 or 7. She was just very, very shocked.
It felt like I was thinking,
There was something on top of me.
close your eyes, everything will be alright. Someone will find you.
I tried to shift it, but it was a body. Half a body. A dying body.
Everything went like kind of very, very muffled.
Became aware of this massive bleeding gash full of glass in my wrist. I looked down and I could actually see the bone. And then I felt sick.
I was underneath a dying body.
I shouted out, "Mum, where are you?"
I was lucky. There was one person, I think it was a woman, who was trying to get up, but she'd lost one of her arms and both of her legs. It was literally like looking at an anatomy picture of the inside of a human body. I wanted to help her, but
I was fighting against blacking out, knowing that if I did, I wouldn't come out from that.
I suddenly panicked. Why does no one come? Does anyone know we're here?
she was never going to make it.
Then I started to cry. I still feel emotional talking about it now, you know.
I just said to myself, I'm not going to die here. This is not the end of my story.
The initial call went straight through to the emergency services. We set up our own special command unit inside headquarters, giving us a central point in which to coordinate the response of all the other emergency services and the army. Invariably, in an incident of this nature, the police and emergency responders don't restrict the scene, as further devices may still be detonated. So yes, there would have been people at the scene who were not initially attended to, as they couldn't make it to the first responders. This came as a bit of a shock to people, really.
I was maybe 50 feet away from the entrance. That was all. It hadn't quite sunk in. It's the kind of thing where you see it on the news and you don't expect to be in it. And I was in it. It was horrible.
The message came through on the police radios. It was pretty chaotic at first, as you would expect. There were blast injuries and a lot of people were traumatised. Once an area was cordoned off, my job was to keep people behind that.
I knew what it was straight away. Literally, there'd been this huge boom inside, and then the smell of an explosion with it.
There was an inner cordon about 400 yards, and an outer cordon which covered most of the town centre, really. The emergency services sat just inside the inner cordon, and we had restricted access from those from the outer, so we could keep a check who was going in and out.
Everyone was just terrified. I mean, there was smoke everywhere. I don't think there was fire, but there were a lot of smoke. And people were still trying to get out. And you could see that loads were injured. There were people with blood all over their faces. Someone had a load of cuts. And then we heard that someone had died.
We have to reassure the public, try to keep people calm, take details of witnesses and that. Well, it's a difficult role because we have to speak to the victims, speak to the people that are concerned or people that have actually been affected by it.
I just said, please let me back in. My friends are in there. I just want to know they're all right.
What are their names? Do you know what they're wearing? Now, we take all that detail and we feed it into the system. So by speaking to everyone, we've managed to get a lot of people together rather than have that person panicking at all hours or going to the police station.
One of the first things we did was to set up through the radio. Initially was updates about what the situation was. Also, we set up an emergency line so people could contact, because there was obviously a whole state of confusion.
At that point, no one really knew what had happened, but already the rumours had started.
What? Suicide bomber?
Bet with them fucking Packies.
It's just one of them things. People have that mentality and you can't take it away from them. I heard some Asian kids saying,
So what? It's our holy book, innit? It's alright what he's done.
and the white kids were giving me a hard time because they'd heard it was an Asian person that had done it.
I'm not talking to you. You're all the same. It was your brother that just killed my cousin.
And I challenged him. I said, don't look at my colour, look at what I'm wearing. I understand you're upset, but so am I. Because I'm British just as much as you are. And then I heard someone say,
Have you heard this fucking coconut?
well, I didn't get it at the time, but it was only later when I told one of my senior officers.
Well, what is a coconut?
Dunno, a bounty, what are you on about?
What colour is it?
Brown,
And on the inside?
white. And I thought, oh my God, is that what they meant? Brown on the outside, white on the inside? Why? Why say that? I'm not here because I'm Asian and the bomber was Asian. I'm here because I'm a PCSO. I'm just trying to do my job.
It came on TV, on one of those news alerts interrupting normal programs. As soon as you see something like that, your first thought is, please God, don't let him be a suicide bomber. It does actually come down to, please God, don't let him be Asian. Then I realised where it was. Didn't know the facts. Didn't know anything at all. No one did at this stage. But all I could think was about my friends. And when those sirens on the news are actually going past your door, then that's a whole new thing.
You say bad things come in threes. I played like crap and got subbed at half time. City's done the double honours and already everyone's blaming team selection. And then I heard the news, I was like, what the hell's going on? You're always shocked when that sort of thing happens, but it's just a small town. It's not even as if it's Manchester.
I'd had a call quite early on. One of my friends had seen him go in there a few minutes before the explosion. she obviously knew when it happened and thought.
I think Hassan's brother's in there. I've got to let him know.
Straight off, I called his mobile. It was off, so I just left a message. I just said, "Hey bro, I know we ain't been seen eye to eye on stuff lately, but please call home and let us know you're safe. Something's happened in the town centre. We think you might have been near there, and we're praying you've not got hurt."
I was phoning round all my friends and family just to check they're okay. A lot of the lines were jammed up though, because obviously a lot of other people were trying to get through as well.
When the number came up for friends and relatives, I rang that.
I'm afraid we've no record of him at the moment. We're still logging the casualties. I know it's hard, but please don't come to the hospital unless we let you know he's here.
I couldn't get through to anyone, but they were giving this emergency number you could phone if you knew or thought you knew someone that might have been there. They were really good. I gave the names of all my friends and they were already in the system.
They were close to the blast, and your friend's condition is serious, but we're doing everything we can for her. I'm sure she'll be okay.
I didn't call Sheed. I didn't even think of him, to be honest. We've not been seeing much of each other since he got taken on here. We've just grown apart. That's how it is.
Shahid's phone was still off, but sometimes he'd do that. He'd just let the battery run down or leave it off, sometimes for days at a time, and obviously he didn't want to talk to anyone. Actually, at first, I was quite annoyed that he didn't call. I thought he must have known what had happened, because I said I was going to town the night before. I mean, even though he told me not to, I might have still gone. I'm my own person.
Time just passed really slowly.
He still didn't call.
There was nothing to say.
Why didn't he call?
I couldn't say what I was thinking.
I can't imagine him not being there for me. I just don't want to think about it.
In my heart, I kept hoping. Now, we all had to keep hoping.
The thing is, it gets to a point where you just can't think about anything else.
But we all knew that the more time passed, the less hope there was of him coming home alive.
A nail bomb is a terrible and inhumane device that can cause dramatic, life-threatening injuries. Devastating shrapnel injuries, really. The blast sends heavy, sharp metal objects ripping through bones and tissue.
The emergency staff were clearly shocked, but doing all they could.
I still do have nightmares about the things I saw that day.
Because I was a bit away from the explosion, I was basically okay. There was just some glass in my hair and pockets.
My mouth was completely dry, and there was ringing in my ears. It turned out I'd gone completely deaf for a short while.
I went to the hospital though, because they thought I might be in shock.
I was very tearful. I just wanted to get my wound cleaned and stitched and to go home.
I just wanted my mum.
I still had that horrible smoke smell in my nostrils.
I wondered why some people were so badly hurt and not others.
There were some people with no injury at all, who were just trembling from head to toe with fear. And when you were close, you could feel their terror.
I think a part of me really knew. You just get that feeling in the pit of your stomach, and you know that something's very, very wrong. I think that's why I kept asking for her. I think I thought that by asking for her, I was telling myself and everyone else that she was alright, and she was going to come around the corner at any minute and hug me. I'd ask if I was okay.
One girl had suffered awful horrific injuries to the left side of her body, in particular to the arm and leg. The leg injury was so severe that the lower part of her limb had to be amputated.
When I woke up, I was in intensive care. I could still feel my leg. When I looked down, it wasn't there anymore. I can't describe that feeling, and you just keep looking, you can't help it. There was a bump in the sheet where my right leg was, but on the left side, nothing.
You'll have to have an artificial limb, and I promise you will learn to walk again.
She was lovely, but I was just completely distraught.
It will take time, and at first, you'll only be able to wear it for a couple of hours a day. But you're not going to go through this on your own. We're going to help you.
You just don't expect something like this to happen when you're out shopping with your friends. You don't expect it.
I thought, if the bomb was that close, then why aren't I dead?
We had a baby with a nail embedded in its head. A child who lost his eye. A young woman with total amnesia who had no idea of who she were, where she lived, or anything that happened.
They thought my arm might be broken, but the x-rays showed it was just badly bruised. They stitched it up and kept me in for 4 hours with shock. I knew I was one of the lucky ones. I just felt so grateful to be alive.
We had an elderly man who had nails lodged into his lungs. His family held a vigil beside his bedside. But I'm sorry to say, he died the next day.
I know it sounds strange, but I actually feel bad for having survived and gotten off so lightly. I keep thinking about that body on top of me. I knew he'd died. I felt him die before the emergency services came. I think he must have been one of the people trying to reason with him. I must have stayed when I ran away. By being between me and the blast, that man saved my life. And I don't even know who he was. I'll never forget him though.
We needed to fully identify those who died at the scene, which wasn't pleasant, as the force of the blast was sent small bits everywhere. We made a decision not to put the family members through formal identification, because there just wasn't much left for them to identify.
They took me to this room by myself and asked me what we should be wearing.
I'm sorry.
After that, I knew I couldn't pretend no more.
Part of a club card had been impressed into her torso.
We never saw the body, but later they gave back her glasses. Just the frames.
The glass would have come out at the time of the explosion.
That's all we have left of it.
All the victims, their families and friends, will have psychological scars, the effects of which cannot be underestimated. The pain will ease with time, but it never fully goes away.
It's going to take a long time to get my life back.
When the police talked to me, they gave me a forensic bag for my clothes.
It helps to talk. It helps to talk about what happened.
I told them what I saw, which weren't much.
I told them what had happened. I said, "Did he die? Shaheed?" I knew him. We were at the same school. He was all right. Popular. Everyone liked him. He was really good at his football. That's what I remembered most about him. He was only 18. I'm 18. It makes you think, doesn't it?
They'd held a Cobra meeting in London involving all the senior politicians, so the Home Secretary had been there and senior representatives from the police and the army. From that, they decided to raise a state of alert in the UK to its highest level, which is critical, because inevitably there was a fear of another incident, or a spate of similar incidents.
It's like when it happened in London. When the tube bombings were in London. Because it happens so many miles away. I wouldn't say you don't think about it, because obviously it's awful for the people and their tragedies. But you just think...
It's in London. It's not going to happen to us.
And I think that's the reality for most people. Unless it directly affects you, or comes to your doorstep, you're not really that bothered. It's an unfortunate thing, that, really.
At first, people were very much in shock.
It hurt the whole community.
The whole community was grieving.
Most people were terribly ashamed. They thought of the shame this would bring on our town.
Everybody was talking about it, about what had happened.
Too early for anyone to know anything, really. The facts, already the whispers had started.
And there were those who just wanted to keep to themselves, who just wanted to be left alone.
The next day was Mother's Day. It had to be, didn't it? And everywhere, it was like you knew their mums and kids and families having a nice day, spending time with each other, maybe going out for a meal. Mum's special day. The day you say thank you for being you. And I couldn't. I could never say that again. And I probably never said to her when she was alive. I never said half the thing I meant to say to her, even though I thought it, and I did care. And I did love her very much. And there was a little cake I bought it still in my pocket. And I'll never be able to give it to her. Because I was never going to see her. Or speak to her. Or be with her again.
We have to fully identify who this person is. Obviously, there'll be witnesses from the scene, CCTV, forensic evidence and DNA.
One of the key issues is to identify the possible co-conspirators which led into this instance to a decision to arrest and detain the perpetrator's family.
An attack to arrest typically involves a large number of resources. We cordoned off neighbouring streets and several officers forcibly entered the premises at gunpoint.
The place could have been booby-trapped. There could be someone else in the front of the room with another bomb.
The first thing we knew, they'd broken down the door.
What's going on? Need the alarm!
The most important thing is to contain the scene for the safety of everyone involved.
I was so scared. I thought, why are they doing this? What do they think we've done?
You'll be wearing these white suits.
It's not acceptable for a Muslim to be undressed in the presence of other men.
We'll need your clothes later for forensics.
We were at gunpoint. My parents, my little sister and myself forced to cover our own clothes with these stupid paper suits so they could take ours later for evidence. And all the time they're prying eyes upon us. I was so angry, but I knew I had to keep my cool. If I'd have shown any form of aggression, verbal, physical or otherwise, I didn't like to think of the repercussions on my family. So I kept the moral high ground. I stayed humble for the sake of my parents. I preserved my dignity as best I could and just took their crap.
Right, we're taking you outside.
I thought about our neighbours watching from behind their curtains.
I could just imagine the photographers.
Everybody would be talking, wondering what we'd done.
Outside, there were more officers with heavy-duty black guns, which I knew were loaded. It was the longest catwalk I've ever done in my life. In fairness, I will say that they made no attempt to provoke us. They kept the guns pointing down and avoided making eye contact.
They pulled into these big black cars and took us straight to Manchester without stopping.
They were taken to a high-security police station in Manchester. Because arrest under tact, which is terrorist offences really, there are procedural differences right from the arrest phase, through custody records and various things. It's much more practical to do this in Manchester. They have trained staff. All the custody suites are sealed up. Everything's sealed up.
That was what they told us about Shahid. I said, are you sure? Could it not have been someone else with the same name?
They told us the reason why we'd been arrested, and then they set out a plan.
This is what we're going to be doing, and this is what we're going to be asking.
I felt like there was no empathy to the fact that I'd just lost my brother.
You have to make sure they're aware of their rights, check their welfare, etc.
I thought, this isn't real. I'm going to wake up in a minute and none of this will have happened.
They're all kept separately, in cells. There's access to the Quran and proper resources for prayer. It's absolutely state of the art, really.
I mean, look, I understand they've got to question family, but now they could have done it at home, or they could have asked me politely to come down. I would have been happy to do it. But the way they just pisses me off. What have we done wrong? We've done nothing wrong.
When his name first came on the news, I had trouble believing it was him, to be honest, because I literally thought the guy I knew.
I was absolutely stunned. I couldn't even cry. You can't imagine when someone you know, it's like my whole world turned upside down.
They'd wanted people who'd known him to come forward with any information, but I mean, talking to police around here don't make it too popular.
You think of all those poor people who've been killed or injured, and you know you have to do the right thing. He was my friend, my boyfriend.
I knew him quite well. We used to be friends.
We have to ask precise questions. We can't just ask, did you know anything about it 10 times over 2 days? So we made an interview plan. The whole idea is to interview one person, go back, review what that person has said, and then use that information to interview person 2 and 3, and so on.
I said, I don't know why he's done it. All I know is he's done the wrong thing. It's as simple as that.
I said, he wasn't bad. He was kind and gentle. He used to look out for me. He was always there for me.
Yeah, we were close. Well, there's only a year between us, so we grew up together.
We were more like brothers and friends, you know. Since about 7 or 8 years old, we went junior team together and we just clicked.
We were nearly together for 4 years. We had so many plans.
I loved him. He meant the world to me.
I thought we shared everything. I thought there was nothing he couldn't tell me. But I swear, I knew nothing about this.
He wasn't racist, I can vouch for that. He was a good friend. He was loyal.
He is. Was. He was always able to pick things up with speed. Really intelligent lad, you know.
He was going to go to university. He'd got a place at Leeds to do chemistry.
He didn't do so good in his mocks, which Dad was unhappy about, but it was basically because he didn't put the work in.
I knew he had few problems. I knew things weren't too good at home after his marks, but I told him things would work out.
I was confident he'd do well when the time came. You know, I've always had that confidence in him.
Mum and Dad were really proud. He would have been the first of our family to go to university.
The thing was, his art weren't in it. You know, his real passion had always been football. It was his dream to play as a professional.
Oh yeah, he could have easy. Even since he was a kid, you could tell he had something special.
I knew he meant the world to him, but he got let down.
It was a couple of years back. Man United had these scouts following him and his friend Stuart because their team was doing really well and they were like the star players.
What it was, they picked me and not Sheed, and I was so caught up in my own exam and I just made a bit of a joke about it. I said, it's a shame your surname ain't Smith, innit? I mean, didn't mean it in a derogatory way or anything like that, it was just a joke. But she just looked at me and I could tell in that moment he hated me. He threw down the ball he was holding and just stormed out.
She'd got the idea into his head that they'd pick Stuart because he was white. Now, whether that's true or not, I couldn't say.
I never really thought. I don't think it was all to do with that. I mean, Sheed's best position was on the wing and we pretty much had that sorted. I'm sure he'd got taken on somewhere else or...
He felt like the door was shut in his face.
It was his dream, you see. Football was what he lived for.
He packed in the football and had nothing to do. He was just hanging round on the streets, looking for something to cling on to, I guess. I knew he was smoking and drinking because I could smell it on his breath. And it weren't so much a religious thing, but he stayed clear when he was playing regular like.
He used to keep himself in great shape because his body used to be his temple, he used to say.
Well, I never really saw much of him after that. Well, I wasn't around so much, so I wouldn't have anyway.
Yeah, he did change. He became more sullen. He just withdrew to himself. It's like he always had a frown on his face, whereas before it was always a smile.
He had a lovely smile. His eyes glittered when he was smiling.
He seemed to get more religious. Seemed to, he wore different clothes, his interests changed, his music and all that. Whereas before it was all football, football, football. So at first, I was actually quite pleased that he was taking more of an interest in Islam and world events.
To be honest, before, when things were okay, I was definitely more into Islam than he was. Not that I'm a scholar or anything, but he read the Quran and he ticked the box, basically. He went to mosque because we all did, and that were it.
It's like when I'm at home, I don't tend to wear the hijab. I just find it more easier to fit in at college without it. And that never used to be a problem. And then one day he was like, why are you moving backwards? What's wrong with you? Maintain your standards. And I was really shocked because that wasn't like him at all.
We started to disagree over stuff, which we never had before. And I found that when we talked about Islam, it seemed that we had really different ideas and it got quite heated.
The times we did bump into each other, it was a bit different, it was more formal. And I was wondering why. And I said to him, alright bro. And he says, I can't talk to you no more. You're not my bro. I can't talk to you because you're not a Muslim. And I was like, where have you got that from? He seems to think it was in Quran, but I've never heard that.
I was like, the Quran don't say that. What you on about?
And then there was this other time where he tried to make me wear the niqab. I know that's not compulsory, and I told him so. We nearly broke up over that.
I mean, it was stupid, really, because neither of us can actually read what the Holy Book says, because we don't know Arabic. But suddenly, without studying at the mosque, he seemed to know all about it. And me, personally, I didn't think that what he was saying felt right.
He started to get angry about what was happening in these far out countries and how the British government were dealing with the Muslims. I mean, he didn't agree with it, but neither did I. I told him to go talk to people about it. I do know that he tried. I don't know if he went to the mosque or not, because he was never really into the mosque. But I do know that he tried to talk to our local community leaders and even our councillors. But he told me that they didn't have time for him or his views.
I heard him going on about how the world was shitting on Islam and shitting on Muslims, and how could we just sit on our hands and not want to do something? His language was quite bad, and Dad and his son got pretty annoyed with him about that.
The other thing he used to rant about, if anything happened to do with Muslims, like, do you remember that teacher in the teddy bear? And they'd interview someone from some Muslim organisation or other. He'd be like, why do you always talk to them idiots? Why is it always the same bloody faces? They don't know what's going on. They can't talk to us. How can they speak for us? How can they represent our views?
I remember when the two bombs happened in London, and we were both really shocked and upset, like everyone else was. But he touched again on that recently, but with a whole new viewpoint, like he really admired what they'd done. He said something along the lines of them standing up against the victimization of Islam from the terrorists Bush and Blair, and how they made them stand up and take notice of what was going on. And I said, what's wrong with you? Those guys are brainwashed. They did the worst that Muslims could do. They did Islam no favours, and they did Muslims no favours. He never mentioned it again, because he knew that we'd end up fighting over it.
There was a lot of hate for everyone. I don't understand how he came to hate so much.
Looking back, I know I should have done more to question it. I'm angry at myself that I didn't, but whenever I tried to challenge him, he just turned nasty. So in the end, I didn't bother. I just put it down to hormones and things like that.
But he must have been influenced by someone, because his thoughts would have changed so much by themselves, would they?
I know stuff goes on and people get brainwashed in that, but to be honest, I thought there's nothing like that going on round here. If anyone tried to start anything at the mosque, the Imam would have them out in no time. He's just not going to let it happen. So, yeah, I was obviously stupid, but I just put it down to some hormonal change. I thought it was a phase he was going through and he was trying to get a reaction. So, I'm ashamed to say that I ignored him. I can't tell you how much I regret that now.
I'm going to feel bad for the rest of my life. That could have done something more to help, and I didn't. But I don't think he was part of a group though. I don't know why. I just don't. But if he was acting on himself without anyone telling him to, then what kind of a cold-blooded killer is he?
Ultimately, was he really that stupid? Look at the Quran. Look at its teachings. Islam's about peace. I know that. I thought he knew that. Now, there's nothing in there that says it's okay to go and kill yourself or anyone else for that matter.
I guess he just gave up on everyone. I don't know.
And it was like, everyone was asking questions. They wanted to know his motivation and possible conspirators. Asking whether they've had intelligence on him. Wondering, could he really have been acting alone? And I just thought, but he was like me. What happens? What was that point? That switch? What is the switch that flicks someone from thinking logically to behaving and acting irrationally? The difference between light and dark. I mean, what makes people do it?
Currently, we're looking at up to 28 days, but after initial reviews of 48 hours, we have to make a really strong case for why that person should be kept in custody. In the case of the parents, who are both quite elderly, the rationale for keeping them in is not likely to be met, so they were released along with the perpetrator's sister after initial interviews.
They took our passports off us in case we wanted to flee the country.
The brother had shared a room with the perpetrator, giving them both access to a particular computer which we had seized from the house. Clearly, it takes longer to analyse information which has been encrypted, so we made a successful case for his continued detention.
It's scary. I mean, I've answered the questions. I've done nothing wrong. I'm innocent of this. I've got no connection to it whatsoever, and yet there's this fear that I might be detained indefinitely without charge or proof. How can that be right?
I understand both sides of it. If the police have grounds to think that someone might be linked to an atrocity, then of course they've got to investigate. Because if they do nothing and they don't take people in and there's another bombing, everyone's going to turn around and say,
Why didn't the police do anything?
it's often easier to blame the police. I mean, you've got to blame somebody.
Dad came home after the interview very quiet. He didn't say much. I think he's dealing with it in his own way. I've never seen him cry, to be honest.
I mean, I'm not a father. I don't know what it's like to lose a son. But I know what it's like to lose a brother.
Mum was the opposite, screaming, pulling her hair. She always hiding things though. She says she was mistreated, but I don't think that's true. I think she was treated exactly the same as the rest of us.
I was let out later that week. No public apology, no all clear. People talk, don't they? Well, people draw their own conclusions, so, well, I must be guilty, right? I'm going to be stuck with this label for a long time.
The first time I can remember, Dad didn't want to Friday prayer because he was scared and ashamed.
I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. I looked just like Shahid. I just felt completely crap and paranoid about what had happened to me and my family. I don't think it'll ever really go away.
Some people were really sympathetic, trying to be empathetic, if that's a word.
And it'd be stupid to say that they weren't those who said, well done.
What was tragic about it? The bro, man, is living a life of luxury in his pan now. He's chill out. The guy's kicking, man. That guy is something to follow.
You know the type I mean. He's got a gold chain, tight jeans, Timberlands. Them guys really annoy me.
It's being a Muslim, innit? People are picking on us and shit. They do the dirty on us. They killing our brothers over there. In the Middle East and whatnot, yeah? Nobody gives two shits about them. But when little Baba Taka was here, everyone's up in arms and shit. Well, you just got me rolling your tanks down. I'm not expecting anything. We ain't gonna take shit like that. Why should we? We gotta do exactly what your brother Shai did. We gotta turn around and say, we ain't gonna take shit like that. We're gonna stand up and fight. Hit it right, yo, bro. There's only one life, man. After this, it's heaven.
I said,
What the hell are you talking about? He went and killed himself and 5 innocent people. You show me anywhere in the Quran or Hadith where it says a man can do that and get away with it.
I was frustrated. I said,
You don't know how my brother is right now. Don't give me a crap about the 70 virgins and that. My brother is in his grave on his own. You're not there with him. He's going to be questioned by the 2 black angels. They're going to ask him, who is your Lord? Who is your prophet? And then they're going to question him. And I suppose one of the questions is going to be, why did you do what you did? And maybe his answer is going to be, because it was in the name of Allah. Well, what happens beyond that point, I don't know. It's between him and God. But logic tells me that God's probably going to be shaking his head and saying, sorry, mate, but that was not in my name.
When his name first came out, it hurt the whole community.
He was well known in the area and people didn't see it coming.
Straight off, you could feel the tension building up.
The idea that someone you know would cause this suffering, just don't understand.
There's no reason for it to happen. Just got to go killing some people for no reason.
He must have been brainwashed.
People started to raise questions like about the Asian thing and the white thing, but our whole community was thinking,
Why did Shahid kill all those people, including our community, the Asian community?
The white lads, the Asian lads, they were all looking for trouble.
everyone was looking for an excuse to start something.
Easy around here, isn't it?
That's when it dawned on me. I thought, I hope to God people don't expect me to apologise for his actions, because it's not in my religion.
Yeah, nothing happened at first.
There's just this whisper that something might be happening.
I remember walking to the youth centre, and as I was walking down the street, every house I walked past, there were people stood outside, sort of, you know,
What's going to happen tonight?
that sort of thing. It was just unreal.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the first thing was.
And when I got to the youth centre, I got a phone call from my sister saying,
Come home. We think there's going to be a problem and we'd rather you were here than trying to get back if there was something going on.
There was a lot of fighting!
I mean, a lot of it was like Asian groups with the police or white groups with the police. There weren't really much Asian on white or white on Asian.
And we were in the middle, trying to control it and push these groups into different areas. But then what happened is the group would attack the police.
I want to watch on my street. This is where I live.
Why are you on that street?
I was on this fucking street.
It's like a normal situation, to be honest.
Now, you had groups putting windows through takeaways, taxi firms, you know, where there was a known element from the other faction effectively, they were the target.
Yeah, places got firebombed and stuff.
There were this Indian family who weren't Muslim in any way. They were Hindus. They had a corner shop and off license in a white part of town. I remember they had to shut the shop for 3 days because they were terrified, just because they had brown skin.
And that was happening all over.
Groups set fire to cars and stuff.
Oh, you got to miss out. Something in the set fire to it.
One night, when I was in bed, there were a lot of lads running up and down our street, armed with, you know, sticks and stones and that. I was really scared.
Right, that's it now. Made our stance.
And we're not going to do any more about it.
But it still seemed that racist people had felt they got an excuse to make an even bigger deal out of stuff.
I think they had a point. Up to a point.
The media never shows the fact that Muslims condemn violent extremism.
They don't understand that we're scared of it too.
They make it out as though we're in our houses cheering him on.
They said he was a Muslim and he wanted to kill the non-Muslim.
They can't say that. They need to say the other side of the story as well.
It's not about religion. They should write about what made him do it or what drove him to it.
And his background and everything.
But my mum was a Muslim. Why did he kill her?
The problem is when the media use the phrase Islamic terrorist, the 99.9% of Muslims who are not a terrorist think there's something about being Islamic that's about being a terrorist. Well, that's what people think anyway.
It's about the way people look at you.
If they give us the look, we give them the look back.
You feel like they've got something on their mind, like...
He's probably going to do the same thing.
You want to challenge it. You want to say something like,
What, you think I'm a terrorist? Eh, what makes you think that?
It makes you stereotype against people like that, definitely. You have it in the back of your mind that the bomber was of that religion. You just have a negative view of it.
If this is my religion, then I hate it.
I try not to make a judgment on them. But now, after it being so close, I'm going to try and stay away from them.
But to what extent do you take that? No matter who it is. Our friends. We don't judge them on the way they look.
I don't think it's possible not to anymore.
I was sat on the bus and Kirsty wouldn't even sit next to me. I mean, the bus was parked and the seat was free and she just stood there. I knew exactly why she wouldn't sit next to me.
It's not wrong about colour, it's not wrong about being Asian. You're a Muslim now.
It's on the news all the time. Muslim, Muslim, Muslim.
It just makes people hate us more.
And it makes us hate them back.
Can't stop it happening. People just like to twist the words. It's like Chinese whispers. Each time it gets exaggerated a bit more and a bit more, making the whole situation worse.
Someone said that not all Muslims believe that, but most of them do. It's what they teach them in mosques and stuff.
You don't know that.
It's obvious. Why do you think it says it in all papers? I mean, we should have seen it coming, really. We could have prevented it. I mean, if this is how they're going to behave, then they should just go back to their own country. Because this is just ridiculous.
We feel like we're going to get kicked out of England, and we've got nowhere to go because we were born here, and so was our parents. But everyone says there's more terrorism happening since Muslims are in England.
But what about the IRA? Have they forgotten about them?
The IRA were never Christian terrorists, so I don't understand how they can turn round and say it's the Muslim people. Don't they understand there are different types of Muslims? There's about 73 different types of Muslims.
I don't want to be a Muslim anymore.
You get bad apples in every community, not just ours.
It doesn't matter what we do, does it? Whatever we do is going to be wrong. And if we do something right, then it's going to be wrong. If we do something wrong, then it's going to be wrong.
People playing it as well. They're using it as a power thing. I saw a group of lads having a disagreement, and an Asian lad turned around and said to a white lad,
You need to shut your fucking mouth, or I'm going to come and bomb you and your family.
it's like they're using it as a power kick, like a you're next type of thing. You know, when you hear them saying,
You hear me? You fuck with us, and we're going to get you.
it's like they're boasting about it, and it saddens me because people have died, innocent people. What is there to boast about? And they don't understand that by saying that, then white kids are going to think.
Oh, so it is the Muslims. You're just saying exactly what we think.
So instead of ignoring it or saying, why are you calling me a terrorist? It turns out that he's accused him and he's accused him back. And he goes home thinking.
You clearly are terrorists.
And he goes home thinking.
You're just white trash.
And that's how it is. Unless they stop saying it, even for a joke, that's just how it's going to end up.
I guess it works both ways.
There's fear on both sides.
Fear is the word.
It feels like there's a massive barrier, and we need to get rid of it.
Now, I've not been to the school. I used to go to the mosque, and I hated it, because all I saw was this mosque man. And you know what it's like when you're being told to do something, and you don't understand it. So when I finished the Quran, I was like, great, I can go home now. I don't want to go back to the mosque. I know the basics. You're supposed to pray 5 times a day, do pilgrimage, fasting, be nice to people and all that. But that already really, because I read the Holy Book in Arabic, and I don't understand Arabic. But when this business happened with the bomb, and all of the media was saying, I think a lot of us start to think.
That's not me. That's not what I believe.
I didn't think Islam was like that.
Why do I study it if I don't know what it means?
So you don't think what they're saying is true, but how can you challenge it if you don't have the answer yourself? You can't educate people if you don't have the knowledge yourself. And I was going to work, and my colleagues were asking me,
So what's this jihad?
What's your holy book say about what he did?
Do you support this holy war?
and I didn't get any answers, which I found quite shaming. Here I am, calling myself a Muslim, and I don't know anything about my religion. What I did, I got hold of an English version of the Quran from an Islamic bookshop, and read it or start to understand it. It's like anything else, Healer. You can take one line out of context and twist it to make it mean what you like. And people do that with the Bible too. Don't tell me they don't. But in order to really understand the message, you obviously have to place that line in the context of the whole and in the context of the life of the Prophet. That is really important. So I went out and found the answers to the questions of my colleagues because of what the media was saying and because I didn't think what they were saying was true. But what I found out is totally the opposite. It's peace. Islam means peace.
That's why I became a Muslim. It was back in July 7th, 2005, shortly after the London tube bombings. My girlfriend, she missed a second bomb by a matter of minutes, and when they were stirring all this Islamic phobia up in the press, I thought, that's not right. I couldn't believe a religion would go and teach those things, so I went out and researched it myself, and not only did I find something really special being misunderstood and misrepresented, but it's how I wanted to live my life. And basically, Islam's a peaceful religion that totally condemns any sort of extremist views or terrorist views or anything like that. So our Prophet, peace be upon him, he teaches it's not right to kill anyone. You can't even kill yourself. Only God can take life. But you know what? I think if Islam's been misunderstood, then jihad's been even more misunderstood. I read the other day in a paper, this was meant to be a quality paper, not a tabloid, that the Quran justifies jihad. And the Quran says, if you die in the name of Islam, that's the best way to die. But they were completely misquoted verses, completely misquoted. Jihad basically means struggle. And the main part of that struggle is the internal struggle that you go through on a daily basis. You know, like with things like jealousy. It's nothing to do with war and terror.
And the only way you can become a martyr is if you die in a holy war. But that's got to be declared by a highest cleric. No one's declared holy war. So to fight for the cause of Iraq in this country, or even America, and to kill innocent people, that's killing innocent people. You're not killing George Bush's doing that. You're not killing Tony Blair's doing that. And just because they do it, doesn't make it right for you to. So if you hear somewhere, kill the non-believers, you know what? Read the rest of the story, mate. Don't do what the BNP do, or what the media do, and take extracts out of context and use them at your own ends. I mean, it's pretty clear. They know express the Quran. A Muslim can't be a terrorist. It's just obvious.
You know, I find it sad they never really talk about what the major faiths have in common. They're always going on about the differences all the time. It's like, if you're a Muslim, say to a Christian, you're a non-believer because you're not a Muslim. That's not true. They believe in God, so they are a Muslim. And it's also the case that if you're a Muslim, you're automatically a Jew and a Christian. Not a lot of people know that.
Even the atheists. I was watching a video on YouTube and the scholar once said that even the atheists are halfway to become Muslims.
How come?
Because they say the first part of the Declaration of Faith. We say,
there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his servant and messenger.
They say,
there is no God.
I think that's funny. That's pretty good. All they got to do is say the other half, and they're there.
Things will never be the same. There's no point in pretending otherwise.
It's difficult to talk about it afterwards. I mean, it's just, I don't know, I don't want to go out. I don't want to do things anymore. I mean, how do you move on after everything that's happened?
The only way we can move on is by not putting it behind us, but not keep bringing it up every time someone says the wrong words against us.
We've got to talk to them. We've got to try and explain. We'll just explain how it is, and if they can't take it, then we'll just leave it.
I find it hard now to go and talk to them.
It's not that I'm frightened. It's just that, well, I don't know what the reaction would be if I did go and talk to them. So I'm kind of not scared, but...
But I mean, everyone's reaction is bad, but it's worse when it's your friend, or someone who should understand you, or someone who means something to you.
And then, when college opened and it was lunch...
It just happened.
Anna, come on.
What? I thought we had 20 minutes.
Well, just be quick.
Don't leave an hour account.
Anna, hurry up.
I'm just washing my hands. I didn't think hygiene was your thing.
Did you have to say that?
It's just that they were leaving on our account just because we were even there. And that made me feel like dirt. And I said, look, just because he did it, that's one person. Doesn't mean that we're all going to do it.
Yeah, it's not what we believe. It's not in the Quran.
That's not what the papers say.
Yeah, why would they lie to us?
Oh, why would we lie to you?
From what I see, it's just a small amount of people who say that they're speaking on behalf of the Muslim community when actually they're not.
I mean, didn't you hear what happened to me? And that Muslim lady who died? How do you think that family are feeling now?
But I mean, when a Muslim tries to say something sensible, no one wants to listen apart from Muslims. And if that only stays in the Muslim community, that's helping nobody, is it? You could have at least talked to us about it.
But why is it always a one-way thing? Why is it always about you and us having to ask you? You haven't even tried to talk to us about it either.
Well, we've had things to cope with, you know.
And we were in it too, when I was outside. So everyone coming out.
I saw things that were I just can't. And I was just trying to do my job. And there were people dying in ways that you just don't want to. And no one even came to help them.
And then there was the silence. Because obviously that made me think. Sometimes you just don't think.
I don't know. I just wanted them to leave. It still seemed like there was a lot of tension between us.
I understand where they're coming from. I mean, I would, if I was in their shoes, I'd be scared. I still am actually, because it happened to me too. But the point of friendship is that your friend should come first. And so I said, look, we can't let this come between us.
Yeah, but look, I've got to say this. It might sound bad, but I really hate it, like when last year it's all Happy Eid and Happy Hanukkah, and I'm fine with it, but then it's like you can't say Happy Christmas because it's offensive to Muslims. I mean, if you want us to be tolerant of you, then you have to be tolerant of us.
Yeah, but I love Christmas. We have a Christmas dinner and everything in my family. That is just another example of ignorant people stirring things up.
Look, what's happened's happened now, and we've got to get through it, and maybe we can be friends again.
I'd like that.
After that, we did start to talk again. It was like gradual, but sort of deeper.
We asked each other about things we wouldn't have done before.
And even though we're all from around here and British and that, we are from different cultures and have different traditions. I sort of ignored it before. You feel a bit rude asking. But once you feel it's all right, it's actually kind of interesting.
It's not just them, it's us as well. They need to understand that not all Muslims are the same. Just like we should understand that not all white people are the same.
But I thought you supported the Iraq War and all that.
Well, some people do, but not all of us.
Yeah, we know it was illegal, and loads of people marched against it.
Yeah, well, if the government listened to them, it would never have happened, didn't it?
We all know that.
I personally think that George Bush and Tony Blair should be tried for war crimes, because they're terrorists too.
I guess it's the same, really, isn't it?
We shouldn't be fighting the politicians' war, you know.
Yeah, and what Shahid did's not made any difference to them.
Just to us.
I still don't understand. This is going to bring her back.
I haven't gone back to work yet. They've offered us counselling, but I can't do it right now.
I hope that lessons can be learned from this, not to take religion or anything else into an extreme. It even says in the Quran.
I still pray for my brother because there was a part of him, and I believe there still is a part of him that is good. It's just been buried by whatever influenced his mind.
I weep for him. How could he think that this was noble or just?
At the memorial service, I lit a candle for those who didn't make it, and another in thankfulness for being alive.
We had a minute's silence for all the victims. A lot of clubs did that round here. I just thought back over everything we've been through and wondered, how did it come to this?
On March 21st, Shahid Hussain, An angry and confused young British man committed an appalling atrocity, resulting in the loss of 6 lives, including his own, and devastating our local community. To call this an Islamic crime would be incorrect. There was nothing Islamic about it. If Mr. Hussein believed he was killing and dying in the name of his religion, it was sadly mistaken. He was brought up a Muslim. Although his love for his faith was sincere, his knowledge was not deep, leaving him vulnerable to potential radicalisation. It is clear he was radicalised and was given distorted interpretations of the Quran. We have evidence to suggest this is the work of an individual and not an organised group. Be assured we'll do all we can to find this person and bring them to justice. In the meantime, please be vigilant and don't become his next victim.